Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lesson 5, Toxins. Toxins are everywhere. As I said before, we have over 100,000 toxins that we are exposed to on a regular basis that have been approved in products that are in our everyday life and toxins that are released into the air. So we are exposed to toxins everywhere. We have toxins on our food with that is sprayed with herbicides and pesticides and artificial fertilizers. So our food is contaminated. We have preservatives, we have artificial colorings, artificial flavorings. We have bisphenol A, which was the plastic lining cans. And so they've gotten rid of bisphenol A, but they replaced it with bisphenol S. And who's to say that in 5 or 10 years, that's not going to be problematic once they start getting more data on that. So there are toxins that are present everywhere in our lives. There are flame retardants. There are non-stick coatings to pans. We have stain resistant coatings in our carpets. We have volatile organic compounds that we breathe in that are in our building materials. So they're all around us. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 major toxins. So let me get started with that. Because as I said, toxins are everywhere. They're destroying our world. They're destroying our health. They're destroying the health of our children, and therefore they're destroying our future. Children are exposed from the womb to the tomb to toxins. The Environmental Working Group did a study of cord blood on newborns, and they studied 413 toxic chemicals in the study. As I said, there are over 100,000 that are approved for use in our daily life, but they only focused on 413 in this study. And the most that was found in a single baby was 287. The average number found in a baby was 200. And 180 of these chemicals are known to cause cancer. So is it any surprise that cancer rates in children have increased 67.1% since 1950? And there's some good news to that, because Columbia University School of Public Health has said that 95% of all cancers are caused by diet and the environment. The good news in that is that now that we're aware of this, that we can make the changes that we need to make in order to decrease our cancer risk and cancer risk in our children. So the 3 major toxins that are at the root of most diseases are: first, heavy metals. We're exposed to them through silver amalgam fillings in our mouth, vaccines, personal care products, in utero, meaning in the mom's womb. It's transmitted from mom to baby, at home, work, and school. The second one is biotoxins and mold, and we're exposed at home, work, or school with that. The third one is hidden infections. That could be Lyme disease or other co-infections. It could be from root canals and cavitations, or it could be from other pathogens. And the thing that potentiates and increases the effects of these 3 toxins is glyphosate. Glyphosate is what's in Roundup, and it's no longer allowed for residential use, but it's still used commercially, and it is sprayed on our foods. That's very appetizing, or not. And our growing children are especially affected by the glyphosate. Speaking of glyphosate, let's look at glyphosate and dementia. Dementia deaths have been increasing exponentially since about the late 80s, early 90s. And you can see the deaths here on the yellow bars on this chart. What's interesting is that the red line here is the increase in glyphosate application that we've had over that corresponding time period. And as you can see, the increase in glyphosate also mirrors the deaths from senile dementia. And I find that very interesting. The sources were the USDA, NASS, and the CDC. So coincidence or not? I say not. So now dementia is also associated with heavy metals. Heavy metals drive brain inflammation. When you have heavy metals in your cells, they drive inflammation. They like neurological tissue, so they like to hang out in your brain. They also trigger the genes that are associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. They also kill the bacteria in your gut that are needed for critical neurotransmitters. I said in the last video that the bacteria in our gut is extremely critical, and it communicates with the rest of our body. And these heavy metals kill that bacteria. And our gut produces 95% of our feel-good chemical for our brain called serotonin. So these bacteria, it kills these bacteria that are needed for the production of these critical neurotransmitters. Silver fillings are dental amalgams, and mercury has been used in these for about 150 years in dental practice because silver fillings contain about 50% metallic mercury. You can see right there. Mercury is continuously released from the amalgam and it's absorbed by your body tissues. The main source of mercury vapor is dental amalgam, and it contributes substantially to mercury load in your tissues. There are studies that show that the more amalgam fillings you have in your mouth, the more mercury you have in your organs, your brain, your kidneys, your heart, your liver. And the reason that it's so difficult to test for heavy metals is because you have to give a person a challenge. You have to pull that heavy metal out, because unless the person is being acutely exposed to heavy metals on a regular basis, the heavy metals are sitting in their organs. So if you do a simple blood test or a urine test, you're not going to get a good result with that, or a result showing that mercury is a problem, because the mercury is not floating around in your bloodstream. It's not being excreted by your kidneys. It's sitting in the cells of your organs, causing problems. So that's why a lot of doctors don't even realize that mercury could be a problem. Let's go back. Whoop. The computer just, all right. So this is very insulting to our intelligence when we think about silver fillings, because scrap dental amalgam was declared hazardous waste by the EPA in 1988. So it's hazardous before it goes into our mouths. It's safe once it's in our mouths, but then when it's taken out of our mouths, it's considered hazardous waste. And companies have to, or dental offices have to pay special disposal fees for hazardous waste. The OSHA guidelines for handling dental amalgam say that they need to be stored in unbreakable, tightly sealed containers, that when you're handling it, you use a no-touch technique, and then it needs to be submerged under liquid, either glycerin or photographic fixer solution. And that's something I really want in my mouth. Mercury toxicity symptoms can mimic a lot of other things. These are the more mild symptoms. Then you can screenshot this, take a look at it if you'd like, but you can see it would be very difficult to just look at a symptom and say, oh, this is mercury that's causing this. So you really have to be vigilant, and you really have to be paying attention to your own body and really getting educated on what creates health and what takes it away, what you might have as a problem in your body, and try to start figuring these things out. And sometimes we have to figure them out on our own, because I know that when I had these issues that the doctors didn't address them because I didn't fit into a diagnostic category yet. They were going to wait until things broke down bad enough for me to have a diagnosis or a disease. But these things bothered me immensely and interfered with my life. Cold hands and feet, tender teeth, ringing in the ears, constant bad breath, anxiety, forgetfulness, sensitivity to sound. The only thing I really didn't have was the nail fungus. I had every single one of these. And so mercury toxicity can be very insidious. So let's just talk about aluminum very quickly. And aluminum is found in various things. It's found in cookware. I never use aluminum cookware. Once I learned about this, I use high quality, heavy duty stainless steel cookware. You can use glass cookware, ceramic cookware, but don't use aluminum. And especially when you cook acidic foods in an aluminum pan, it leaches the aluminum out even further. Aluminum foil. I only use aluminum foil to line the bottom of my oven or the bottom of my toaster oven. Never put food next to aluminum foil, because you're going to leach aluminum into that food. Soda cans contain aluminum. Food also contains aluminum. It's in baking powder. I buy non-aluminum baking powder, and you can find that very easily at the store. I think Clabber Girl is non-aluminum baking powder. It's also found in drying agents for foods. It can be in our water source, our water supply. It can be actually leached into the water from the groundwater, or it can be residual from the water treatment procedures that are used in municipalities. It's in antiperspirants. I always advise people never use antiperspirants because it blocks your pores to prevent you from perspiring. And perspiring is one way of your body detoxifying. And so I always use deodorants and recommend natural deodorants. And it's also in vaccines. So aluminum is what's called an adjuvant. What an adjuvant does is it stimulates your immune system. It sort of puts it into hyperdrive so that you can use less of the virus to create the same type of immune response. So it heightens your immune response. So it's not a safe thing to put in our bodies. Aluminum's also been linked with Alzheimer's disease. So now let's talk about the fact that I said before that heavy metals can be passed from mom to baby in the womb. This is a perfect example of this. This is a mom who had a heavy metal test. And as I said earlier, you can't just test for heavy metals. You have to give someone some kind of a challenging chelating agent that will pull the metals out. And then you can test the urine to see if there are metals excreted in the urine. And you can see here that lead is off the charts for this mom. And then nickel is her second highest. And when you look at her 5-year-old son's results, you can see right here, the highest one is lead and the second highest one is nickel, just like mom. So these are passed from generation to generation. Lead can be passed from mother to infant up to 4 generations. The new Flint, Michigan was recently in the news. It was in the news 5 years ago in 2016 when they discovered extremely high levels of lead in the water. 2 years prior to that, in 2014, the city of Flint, Michigan switched their water supply from Lake Huron, which is a deep, still body of water, to a superficial flowing body of water with the Flint River. Now they needed to change water treatment procedures when you change the bodies of water that dramatically, and they didn't. And so what happened was, because the nature of the water was different and they were using the same water treatment, is that the water was leaching and pulling the lead out of the pipes, and it was acutely poisoning the townspeople in that city. And lead is not just a problem for Flint, Michigan. It's been found in water systems all across the United States. There are some cities that have had higher levels of lead than Flint, Michigan. The thing about Flint, Michigan was it was an acute change. So it wasn't just this lead leaching into the pipes continuously, but there's a problem everywhere. And Flint, Michigan in November settled, the state of Michigan settled with Flint, Michigan for $623 million, which they should have. They were poisoning their children. They're adults and their grandparents too, but they were poisoning their citizens. Lead is not just a water issue. Lead can be found in cosmetics, especially you ladies, listen up. Most lipsticks contain lead. It's not an ingredient, it's a contaminant of the coloring. So the darker red the lipstick, the more likely it is to contain lead. FDA.gov still reports lead in lipsticks, and other ingredients are also a concern. So if you go to the Environmental Working Group's website, into their Skin Deep database, you can search your brands of products that you use, and you can search your mascaras, your skincare products, your shampoos, and see what other ingredients may or may not be a concern. That link down there to ABC News is just a report from Good Morning America when they did an expose called Toxic Beauty in 2007, just as applicable today as it was 14 years ago. So now I think you probably remember this slide from the beginning, from the cell. When toxins infiltrate the cells, they cause profound and continuous inflammation. And that inflammation, that bucket of your cell overflows and spills to the rest of your body. And that inflammation is systemic, and you get all of these problems. And as you can see, again, these are very nondescript. They can fit into another disease category if you have other symptoms that correspond to them. But these are caused by inflammation and toxins in your body. And so it's important that you address that cause. When you address cellular inflammation, you have 5 benefits, 5 major benefits. There are many benefits, but 5 major benefits of decreasing your cellular inflammation. The first is you have improved brain function, because when you properly detox, not just doing a cleanse will not cut it for heavy metal, mold, brain involvement. You'll start to feel better after a cleanse because you felt so bad to begin with. And when you open up certain detoxification pathways, whether it's a liver cleanse, a gut cleanse, cleaning out your, clearing your kidneys, whatever, you're going to excrete the toxins that are coming in more easily, but you're not pulling those toxins out of the deep tissues and organs, which is going to be critical in order for you to actually heal. So when you get the toxins out of your brain, you have dramatically improved brain function. You also have weight loss because your body starts to store toxins in fat cells when the body cannot handle the toxic burden that it is subjected to. So when you start decreasing the toxins in your body, your fat cells can start to release those toxins, and that resistant weight loss is now a thing of the past. You can also reverse aging with it. We talked about oxidative stress. Oxidative stress causes premature aging. Oxidative stress reduces the function of the cells. It changes the nature and the character of the cells. And when it changes the nature and the character of your skin cells, you lose collagen, you lose the elasticity of your skin, you lose that youthful appearance. And I'm not saying that you're going to look like you're 20 years old if you're 60, but it's going to improve your appearance and reverse aging when you decrease cellular inflammation. It also causes symptom resolution. All of those checklists that you fill out with all these symptoms, or the mental checklists even, the things that interfere with your daily life, popping joints, you're exhausted, you have brain fog, you're achy, you've got this stitch in your side when you walk. Those things will start to resolve when you resolve cellular inflammation. And by resolving symptoms, you're going to decrease your chronic disease risk because you're going to get rid of that root cause of chronic disease, which is inflammation. Cellular inflammation is the root cause of all disease. So I hope you guys found this beneficial. Tune into the next video and we're going to talk about the 5 R's of detox, because it's important that you detox properly. So check in and tune in for the 5 R's of cellular detox, and I will see you in the next video.